Welcome to Fortifying Futures, the podcast that unlocks the secrets of securing your legacy. Each episode is meticulously crafted to demystify the complex realm of estate planning, asset protection, and how your investments are protected. With the expertise of industry veterans and the personal stories of those who have navigated these waters successfully, Fortifying Futures offers more than just information. It provides a blueprint for action. Tune in to Fortifying Futures and transform your legal and financial journey into a strategic masterpiece. Welcome to episode 3 of Fortifying Your Futures. You know, frequently I get a lot of questions from clients in Oklahoma that have mineral rights or maybe think they have mineral rights. Sometimes it might be a conversation they remember from around the dinner table or a conversation with an aunt or uncle about, hey, remember when grandmother or grandpa had these minerals? And so right now I've got a guest that's with me, and he has some of the same questions, and we've navigated this before. And so, Eric, welcome. I'm glad that you're here, and I've enjoyed working with you on the past. We help unravel a family problem that you had regarding your family's mineral rights. So why don't you tell our listeners kind of how we got started on this?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Really, we got started because my grandfather here in Oklahoma had mineral rights. I knew nothing about them. Really still don't know much about them. I know it seemed like there were good times and bad times for the checks coming in. And it was just something kind of talked about in the family loosely, but I really didn't know anything about it. And then after he passed, you know, it kind of fell on me and my siblings to try to help figure that out. And really coming into it with really no understanding of other than that, just there's some minerals, and now what do we do with them?
Right. We get that question a lot in Oklahoma, and sometimes everyone has these dreams of becoming a secret billionaire because they have minerals in the ground. That doesn't always happen, right?
Clearly.
Yeah. However, there is a lot of wealth that's tied up there, and what we don't know really is, what do I own? Where is it located, and how do I turn that into money? How do I get paid? How does that check show up in my checking account? And so it's a lot of great questions. The oil and gas industry is motivated in paying the royalty owners out. So they really want to get the oil or the minerals, including oil and gas, get it out of the ground. And it all comes down to title. So in a situation like yours, there might be a grandparent who's deceased. Maybe they're alive. And they had assets in their name at one point in time, and XYZ County in Oklahoma. Who knows? Everywhere from Cimarron County to Johnston County to Oklahoma County in the middle. Everywhere there's minerals underneath the ground, and we just don't know what's there. So there is a whole special section of attorneys at our firm that can and work to find out who owns what under the ground. And when those attorneys do that and they come back with a legal ownership, it's then where we can get involved, or I can get involved, and we help transfer that title or the ownership of those minerals down to the current generation. Who's supposed to get them? So like anything in Oklahoma, the legal answer is it depends. So I remember working with your family, Eric. We had to start we're still in the middle of it, but we had to start at the top and figure out when a couple generations ago passed, those minerals never got transferred out of their name. So I think it was in Murray County, maybe. I think that's where your minerals were.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we had to go back and do a probate to get the judge's blessing to start passing these minerals down from one generation to the next. And so it's a complex web of who's alive, and we go through the divisions, how many heirs did they have, and all the legal wranglings. But we did it. We navigated that. We got the assets passed down. I think right now, you and your siblings are facing a dilemma of, what do I do with these minerals now? So they're currently owned in your name, is that right?
That's a great question. And really, I got hung up on really understanding the probate process as my siblings were going through that with me. I was not the executor of that, or the personal representative. So can you explain a little bit about that probate process and what happened there?
Right. So we had to go back and build. I think it was your grandparents that passed away, and they passed it down to their children, right? I think one of them had a will, one of them didn't. So we had to navigate do the math, if you will, and a quarter went here and a quarter there. And so we finally determined in your lineal, as you split the assets up, It got a little bit smaller each time, unfortunately. Sorry about that. I wish we could make it grow bigger. But you became the legal owner, I think, of 1/3 of what your parents had. And now we have notified the oil and gas producers that you are the legal owner for this, and they should be starting to send you
That's
checks
great.
soon. That's right. That's what we hope. But that probate process it is a fascinating topic, and we'll certainly have to cover it in more detail in one of our later episodes. But that probate process is the way in which the law passes ownership down to the next generation, right? So when your grandfather died, he owned that. And since he was deceased, he couldn't pass that down to the next generation. So we had to start the probate process where the courts are involved and they make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed to pass those down to the next generation. And one of the ways to avoid that is through a trust. A trust is a very tried and true methodology to make sure assets are retitled and passed down to the next generation, however you want to do that. And I think that's the stage we're at with your family, is now that we have ownership in everybody's name, we're contemplating what's next, and that's putting the oil and gas royalties or the mineral rights into a trust.
That's exactly right. And my wife and I have talked about a trust for a long time as our kids were born and now have aged and gotten older. But there's really been a lot of mystery around that as well, and kind of feeling like, do we have enough that makes sense to start an estate plan? Do we, what exactly goes into that kind of thing?
Right. Right. I get that question a lot. And when you're thinking about the mineral rights, and how that connects with your existing estate plan, whether you've got an IRA or 401k, a house, cars, all those different assets. One of your assets that you're specifically dealing with is your mineral rights. And how does that work? How do we pass that on? Well, if you were to pass away today without a trust, we would have to probate, the same thing we did for your grandfather. We would have to probate that estate, and your kids really don't want that.
They don't want that. No.
It's a hard
and I
process.
don't want to put them through that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so one of the best ways to do that, to avoid that, is to do a trust. And so I would be my vote that you transfer those assets, your minerals, into your trust, and then your trust will end up holding almost all of your assets. It's a very effective, very easy tool. Sometimes it seems real complicated and really complex, but it's really not. But your trust will hold those mineral rights. And then when you pass, and I'm sorry, someday you will, I've got bad news for you.
Fortunately.
But when you pass away, your trust will dictate who gets to benefit from those. You may give it to your spouse for a certain amount of time, or you may give it to one or two of your children or all of your children, but you get to decide how those minerals are passed down. And more importantly, your kids avoid probate. So you're ensuring that legacy is passing down under your terms and what you want to be intentional about doing.
So, with the movement of the mineral ownership, it has been in my name now that it's been passed down. What does it mean to put it in the name of the trust, and how does it get into my bank account from there?
Because that's what all that matters, right? If we want to get to the point where that I can spend that money.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. So what we do, what a typical estate planning attorney should do, is should draft a trust. And a trust is one way to look at that is a box, a really fancy box with a lot of great instructions on it and a lot of great rules on how the assets are to be passed down. But then we got to put the things inside the box, to put the assets inside the box, and that comes from retitling them. So in your case, what we're probably going to do is we're probably going to draft a quitclaim deed or some type of deed, a special deed that will transfer the assets from your name into the trust. Now, you still get to spend the money.
Okay.
The money still shows up in your name, but it just allows those minerals or the income from that to be held by the trust. So when you pass away, it goes to your kids. Now the checks will be payable to your family trust. And your checking account will have that same name on it. And so when you deposit that money, you'll still get the 1099 in your name. You still have to pay taxes on it, right? We always want to make sure we're paying taxes. And then you can spend that money on groceries or bills or however you want to do that. Or
college educations.
Or pay for your new favorite attorney.
That's exactly
right. You could donate that. I'd appreciate that. So, but that's a great question. So once we change the title and we put it in the name of the trust, then the checks start coming to you in the name of your trust, which magically match up to the name of your checking account. Those checks are deposited, and it's just like getting a payday from anything else.
That's fantastic. And so once it's in the trust then, and I've set up the rules for where my trust is going to go, then I'm secure in that those minerals are going to be passed down. My third of those minerals will be passed how I want them passed.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you bring up a great phrase, and you said you were secure and confident, because that is really what estate planning is. There's a lot of tricks, and people try to write articles and shortcuts that may or may not work, or they really hope that the shortcut will work. But what we want to do for our clients, and what I encourage our listeners to do, is to be sure, to be confident, to move without any doubt that their assets are going to be passed down. And one of these days, not long ago, my wife asked me, "What do you do all day?" And I gave her the answer finally. I said, my job is to give peace of mind to my clients so they are secure and confident that their assets are passed down the way they want to be. And the only thing we know for sure is that life is going to change. But if you can create a trust or estate plan that has certainty and has strength to it and has stood the test of time, it's a tried and true legal document. If you can create that for your wife and for your family, then I really think that you're going to leave with peace of mind, not hoping that it works, but knowing that it works.
Yeah, well, I can tell you my wife is really excited to have that peace of mind.
Yeah, right. I think it's good. I think we overlook that quite a bit. So, well, good.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking the questions about minerals, how we get title to them through the probate process, and how we ultimately get those into your trust, and how your trust takes ownership of them, and then how your trust ultimately distributes those to your heirs, or however you want that done. So it's a great thing. A lot of our listeners have that same question. And again, I want to encourage people, don't be intimidated by not understanding or knowing the process. It's really simple. You call your estate planning attorney. You can call us at Balmore Slow. We'd be happy to help you out. But there's a lot of good people out there that can. But just don't be intimidated by the fear or I don't know what this would do, so I'm just going to forget about it, move on down the road. Sometimes there's a lot of wealth trapped inside those mineral rights. So I appreciate it, Eric. Thanks for coming by today.
Thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you for listening to Fortifying Futures. This is the podcast that unlocks all the secrets and all the mysteries surrounding estate planning. And we want to make sure that we're answering all your questions. So keep them coming. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know what concerns you may have or anything that we didn't get to. We'll do our best to get to those on the next podcast. And you can reach out to us via email at clientintake@bml.law. Again, that email address is clientintake@bml.law. And you can always call us at 405-701-5355. Again, that's 405-701-5355. And check out our website at bml.law. There's a lot of great information out there, a lot of great resources and tools. And our goal at Balmore Slow is to provide thoughtful law for today and in the future. Thank you.